Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, Denny and Paul.
Good morning, Tim. Good morning, Paul. Good afternoon, good evening. We just finished 2 weeks of Interop at Las Vegas. Done a bunch of show, put it under LMTV Interop. And so we have a slight break before Interop London and Shockfest. So today, Paul Offord is coming back for another one of the LMTV TribeLab, part of our Pro series, where again Danny gets to shut up. He's going to talk about a new tool. In fact, this is essentially an exclusive announcement of the new tool coming out from TribeLab. And he calls it the RPT. Now, I meant to have a conversation with Paul. You cannot make abbreviation out of abbreviation. So my understanding is that the first R stands for Rapid Program Resolution, right?
That's for RPR. Yes.
Yeah, that's what R stands for, and then PT stands for Process Tracker.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, well, with that, Paul, take it away.
Okay, thanks very much, Denny. Let me just get things started here and sort out my screen share. Oops. Okay. Let's get around into there. Hopefully you can see my presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about today is something called as Denny said, the RPR Process Tracker. And what we're doing is we've taken something that we've been using internally, and two of my colleagues have done a great deal of development on this to produce a secure version that we can use and provide to TribeLab users and ultimately to anybody who wants to use this type of solution. So let me explain the reasoning behind this. We should start by perhaps looking at RPR and why IT departments are adopting RPR as a way to frame the investigation of a performance or stability issue. So there's a dilemma that faces service operations people, and by service operations people I mean incident managers, problem managers, service delivery management people. One of the issues they face is that when the IT department is presented with a difficult performance or stability issue, each technology tower will go and investigate the problem in their own way. So they've got their own particular techniques and procedures that they'll follow to try and determine if their technology is causing the issue. So as you can quite appreciate, the techniques that are used by the network engineers is probably nothing like the techniques that would be used by a database administrator. And the trouble with that is that we end up with output from these investigations where there's a dispute over what's causing the problem. And often the dispute results out of the interpretation of subjective results from the investigation of each of these technology teams. And so then service operations are faced with the dilemma, who do we believe? And what makes it even worse is when the business comes to you and says, what's the cause of the problem? When are you going to fix it? What's going to happen next? And service operations don't quite know what to say. They say, well, we've got several different teams looking at the problem, but we haven't reached a consensus yet, and we don't know what's we don't know what's causing the issue. So one of the, I'm not going to go too heavily into RPR itself because I've gone over this time and time again on previous videos, but one of the key things about RPR is it provides a common approach for the technical teams and for service operations to tackle a problem. And so RPR comprises of two parts. There's a process part which tells all of the people involved in an investigation what they should do and when they should do it. And the beauty of this is that whenever you say to someone who uses RPR to investigate a problem, if you say what's going to happen next, they can tell you the next 6 steps, exactly what's going to happen in the next 6 lots of activity. Whereas typically if you go and ask service operations people or technical support people what's going to happen next in this investigation, they'll say something like, well, we're going to try this and we're going to try that, and we've got some ideas, but nobody's quite sure exactly where we are in the investigation. So having a process provides us with a great deal more visibility into what's going on. Now, processes don't typically appeal to network engineers, server engineers, or anyone else, but actually the process, the important part of the process is it provides a framework for you to do the investigation. But what does appeal to the technical people are the supporting techniques. So not only does RPR tell you what to do and when to do it, it tells you how to achieve the objectives of each step of the process. And so that gives you these two groupings where we have process, which is of interest to service operations because it makes the problem manageable, and technical support teams who are switched on by the service techniques because they find them quite sexy. The supporting techniques.
Paul, only you would call them sexy. I'm sorry.
All right. Useful. Is sexy an England thing then?
Right.
UK thing. Oh, okay.
Well, for geeks, it's sex. That's good.
Okay. The result is that using RPR, you can get a cohesive team of people who specialize in relationships, and so they have the big relationships with different parts of the IT department and different parts of the business, and so they can provide good symptom information, they can put it in the context of what it means to the business, and they can control and manage the whole situation, including the relationship with the customer. And then on the other side of the house, we've got the people who are very technically skilled and very focused on their particular technology. And RPR sort of bridges the gap between the two. So that's key to what you can do with RPR. So the great thing here is that if we can track the progress of an investigation, and we can do that in a process manner, then we can express that through software. And so that's really what the RPR Process Tracker is about. It's about software that can actually track the progress of a problem. Now, I'll just switch around into here. So we're going to make the first version of this available through TribeLab. It will be available free of charge. I'll talk about the particular feature set of this version in a second, but it's a quite simple tool, but it actually is quite powerful in what you can do with it. So let's just log in. And this is a very early cut, by the way. There's still lots of bugs, and some of it doesn't look quite right, and I've only got one ticket open at the moment. So that's
why there's a freemium model, guys.
That's right. It's a freemium model, but
the one that works is the premium one.
Yeah. No, this will work when we launch it. But you can see actually, even in this version, some of the labeling is wrong because it still talks about React Project Tracker, which is our internal system. And it refers to project references, which mean nothing to the outside world. So all of this has got to be changed. But the key thing here is that it's quite a simple system to track the progress of a problem. So you can see that all of the steps of the process, of the RPR process, are laid out here. And what we can do is we can see that all of the activity associated with the first step has been completed. And the way that's been completed is because sitting behind that is a checklist. So these are quality gates or checklist or whatever you like to call them. And you can see here that it's got a prompt that says you should have recorded a detailed list of the actions leading up to the problem such that the actions could be repeated by anyone. And so, you know, as you go through the whole process, you need to check off that you've done each of these activities. And once you've done that, then you can go on to the next step, and you can complete some of these. So let's just, in this case, I already had this pre-arranged where it says there was a meeting with users arranged for the 12th of May to discuss prioritising the symptoms. So let's imagine that the meeting was pulled forward and we've now completed that task. So now we can complete a couple here, and I'll update that. And now you can see that in the tracker, the step that says choose the symptom to investigate is 67% complete. It's marked with an amber. Now you can actually go on to the next step and say start some work on some of these things as well. You don't have to do them in order. There comes a point where you will have to, but so we can go down here and we can keep completing the step. Now this is great for you know, for the person who's running the investigation. Maybe it's useful to track this so that they can keep control over what's going on and understand what needs to be done. But the real beauty of this is that then this map can be shared with any stakeholder you choose through sending them a URL with a special key in the link. Now we haven't got this bit working on our TribeLab version, so I'm going to have to flick into our other internal version to show you this. But this is effectively what any stakeholder would see. They get this link up here sent to them. They can click on the link, and then that takes them into what looks like exactly the same view of the process map. But in this case, it's a read-only version, so they can look at each step and look inside and see what's been done, how much work has been done, any notes that were made during the time, and so anybody who's involved or has any stake in the investigation of this problem can get an instant up to the minute view of where we are in the investigation and what's got to happen next. So that's a very brief jog through the whole thing. We've got lots of features that we plan to add to this. Some of the things are the fact that we're going to have links in this read-write version. There will be links out of this into the RPR documentation, which means that if you're not quite clear what you should do in a particular step of the process, you can go to the documentation and it will tell you exactly what you should be doing. And then there will be other onward links into other things like supporting techniques or even training modules. We're also going to add a degree of control into this so that there will be some key milestones. One of them is at the point just before you execute what's called the diagnostic capture plan. At this point here, there will be a milestone, and when you click on it, it will tell you what the risk is of you proceeding past this point if you haven't completed all the previous steps. And it will let out, you know, it'll say you can go ahead, but if you do, these are the dangers. These are the things that might go wrong in your investigation. So that was a quick run through.
The nice thing about this, Paul, is it gives people an architecture. It's a lot of troubleshooting is so random.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this gives them a process to follow. It gives them some stability, some earth grounding, and that would help almost every analyst out there, because if you try to do everything random, I'm going to run here and do this, I'm going to run and do this, you'll just do a lot of something and won't be doing much of anything.
Definitely, and I think that you raise a great point, and I think for the audience of LMTV, the one thing I should point out is that I know often people look at process and they're quite switched off by it and say, what's that got to do with my job? But if once you start to dig into the RPR process, you'll find that it has very, very practical application to, say, network trace analysis. If you follow the RPR process, you can save so much time analyzing network traces. So it's of tremendous benefit to both technical staff and service operations people. So,
and you'll learn a lot more about your network because it won't be a random view. It'll be a very articulated view, and that'll help you learn more about your network.
Sure, absolutely, and help you make sense of it.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought I'd just point out some just summarize the features. One of the things is that just to put everyone's mind at rest, this is a totally secure mechanism. One of the things that we in terms of the content that's on the process, we only ever apply or add notes that are of a similar content as you would be exchanging via email. We never put IP addresses, asset, machine names or anything like that into the notes fields, and we'd certainly advise any user of this mechanism to do the same. It is totally secure anyway. It's confidential in that it's encrypted using HTTPS, and there are also access rights controls so that you can only view your own tickets. You can't go viewing other people's. When you share the link, the keyed link with stakeholders, without that key, they can't access any of the maps. So unless they have actually been sent the correct keyed link, they won't be able to access anything. And the key is a randomized, I think it's 64 bytes, I think it is. I can't remember, but it's pretty random. It would take you probably a lot of compute power to try and crack it. The single user version will be free, and we're hoping to make that available by the end of May. In fact, I'm pretty certain we'll beat that date, but it should be available real soon, and we'll be announcing that not just through TribeLab but through various channels, and obviously will involve the Love My Tool community. Single user just means that you can only have one read-write person, one read-write account, so you'll have one person who can update the maps. In terms of the read-only access through the keyed link, it's limitless. You can just forward it to anyone, and as many people as you want to view it will be able to view it. The Enterprise Edition, which we're targeting for sometime in August, will be a subscription-based model. And in this case, we're offering up to 200 read-write user access. So this is for large organizations, right up to large organizations who might have lots of service delivery people, particularly managed service providers, etc., who need to have the ability to control and manage problem investigations. Again, the read-only access will be limitless. So, let me get back off my screen share.
There he is.
I heard lots of bleeps while I was going through that. Have I been sent messages or something?
Oh no, part of that was for me. I thought you were done, and I was going to ask you to turn off the screen sharing, but
okay.
that was it. Now, if I understand it right, Paul, TribeLab was really just something you did because you thought it was important. It really wasn't meant to be a commercial project, right?
That's right.
Now, but now you have an opportunity to at least get some sponsorship or membership, or maybe just outright consulting arrangement, or maybe just a buy up on features. How would that affect TribeLab?
There'll be no effect on, you'll still be able to access TribeLab free of charge, and you'll be able to use the single user version of the Process Tracker totally free of charge. The Enterprise Edition will probably be a standalone solution where the design goal I've given the team is that you should be able to use it if you are a TribeLab subscriber or if you're not a TribeLab subscriber. The Enterprise Edition should be available to anyone. And the reason that we wanted to do an Enterprise Edition and we wanted to charge a subscription for it is because we've got loads of ideas for development of this, and realistically we can't do it on a part-time basis.
No, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah,
I think that's a great. I'm really excited about that. Yeah. So hey, Paul, Tim Crofton from Datacom just asked a question. Can you see it? I selected it on the Q&A.
No, I keep having problems with my Q&A. Let me check.
I'll write it. I'll read it for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead, Tim.
It says, this is from Tim Crofton. Hi, Tim, by the way. The naysayers always complain about processes, saying it will slow them down, although we know the process actually makes things more efficient. Having said that, please comment on how much of a burden on time does RPR actually take you to use it, or as you use it?
Okay, that's a good question. So obviously in the early days, when you first start with RPR, there's going to be a bit more overhead. But actually, in terms of the results, you will cut the time needed to investigate grey problems, those being problems where you don't know which technology is causing the issue. You'll cut that time by around 50% in terms of workload effort and about 85% in terms of elapsed time. Those are the results we get. Those, you should expect the same. And if you don't get those results, you should email me and tell me you're not getting them, and I'd really like to know, because people, when we go and look at a problem where people aren't using RPR, typically they will have used, could be hundreds of man-hours of effort trying to solve a problem, and we'll get them focused on using the RPR method, and we do the heavy lifting, but they have to collaborate with us for us to do it. But you're typically looking at sort of 3 days, you know, to find root cause. There's usually some lead time in getting some of the utilities activated that we need in place. But if you take that element out, you're looking at just a few days. And so, yes, I can see how people do consider a process as being an overhead, but you get such mammoth gains using a structured way of investigating problems.
And Paul, almost any analysis, if it's mathematical, it's a physical analysis or anything, you have to have a process. You have to start, and you have to go through it. And a lot of people like to randomize. You know, they run here, run there, run over here, run. It makes them feel good. But when you're troubleshooting a large network, you just can't randomize it. You've got to know, especially when you're looking for root cause. Okay?
Yeah. Let me illustrate it with a practical example. The difference between using RPR and not using RPR when you're looking at a network issue, or what's believed to be a network issue, is that without RPR, someone will phone you up and say, you've got a bunch of InfiniStreams running, haven't you? Yes. They're capturing continuously. Yes. Well, we had a problem. Several users complained about a problem this afternoon. Can you have a look at the InfiniStream traces and tell me if you can spot the problem? Well, you know, how long have you got? Okay. Now with RPR, someone phones you up and they said a user with this IP address had a problem at 13:52 this afternoon. We marked the event with a ping of a length 101 bytes. Can you take a look at it and tell us if you can see the issue? Right? That's the difference. That's completely practical. That's something that any network engineer can understand. And similarly, it's not just network engineers. It's the same with web engineers, with database people. Similar sort of guidance, you know, immediately focusing in on the area of the problem instead of you trying to do some sort of mini health check on, you know, on the system.
Well, all I can say, Paul, is that you're slowly taking the fun out of being away from being a Jedi.
No, it's not true. It still benefits, you know. RPR is a 19-step process, okay? 16 of the steps could be conducted by anybody, pretty much anybody in the IT department, as long as they can follow a procedure. But 3 of the steps are more heavy lifting. One of them is actually defining a diagnostic capture plan, which is, how am I going to get the data I need? Now, if you are experienced in investigating problems, you're going to be the guy who's going to know what tools are available, what can be done with the tools. So you're a really useful person in the whole RPR process. And then we've got the analysis of the data. Again, if you have experience in doing that, great.
No, I was only joking, Paul. That's how civilization was developed, right? Is taking tribal knowledge and structure, you know, making structure, you know, start to structure it. And I think that what you're doing is really tremendous.
Well, I think the thing is that what we've done is, it's not that there are lots of people out there who have been using similar techniques to us and probably using a very similar method. All we've done is codified it. We've codified it, documented it, and then made it available to everyone. It's not. I don't think that we've discovered something that other people didn't know. I think other people did know. Maybe there were slight variations with what they did compared to what we do, but all we've done is pulled it together into a coherent document and process.
Okay. So we got about a minute before we hit the 30-minute mark. So we'll continue to do TribeLab at least once a month, and continue to kind of expand on that and helping you to kind of reach out to our audience. But in addition, you're going to have a busy June.
Yeah.
So we were talking about that. So basically, in the middle of June, there will be Interrupt London, and you're going to be doing a presentation and possibly be a field reporter for us for an hour or so. Just kind of tell us what's going on, and then as soon as you're done, you're going to fly across the pond and be in San Jose.
2 days later.
Yeah.
Mountain View. Yeah.
so I noticed that they're breaking you in slowly this time. Just only 3 presentations.
Only 3. Yeah.
Only 3. Yeah. What's up with that?
Oh, well.
Well, Tim, any comment? Any last thoughts before I close?
No, I just think people, when you go to any company that has a network management, has a large network or different tools in that, they usually start off by teaching you their mythology, and most of the ones I've seen, except in the cases that they use a real process, is very randomized, and they don't get the best features and functions out of the tools they've bought, out of the solutions they're running. You have to have, in today's world, whether you're troubleshooting compliance, auditing, security, just troubleshooting, doing even simple things like statistical analysis, and especially statistical analysis, because there's a process in that. That's a mathematical reduction of events. Okay, you've got to have processes, and this can help a lot of people, and it's a great learning tool. I certainly will be showing it to my classes and trying to get them to start applying it to synthetic problems, because it helps. And that's what education is about, right? Is an education of hierarchy. You know, you don't start off learning quantum physics. You start out learning how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and everything is a process, and that's what this is.
Yeah. So, Paul, what would any thought on what your next TribeLab episode would be about?
Yeah. I'm going to try to persuade 3 people who are keen on RPR to come onto the show and tell you about their experiences.
That would be fantastic. So just let me know, and we'll fit you into our busy schedule. Okay.
Yep.
So with that, we're gonna close the show. Thank you very much. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Tim. And see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.